We'll now move on to our second speaker, Dr. Laura Karavita, who will speak about the Agnes study. Laura is an Academy Research Fellow at the Gerontology Research Center in Finland.
Yes. Thank you, Joe, for the introduction and the invitation to give a short overview of our study. So I've listed here the young researchers that did a lot of work on the recent harmonization of our questionnaire data, plus the PIs of our different sub-studies that we have been doing mainly on the follow-up phase of this Agnes study. So Agnes is concentrated on active aging concept, and it's a Finnish cohort, which actually includes 3 separate cohorts of 75, 80, and 85 years old men and women. Let me try and change the slide. Here we go. So I thought it was quite a challenge to try to present this a large study in a 5 minutes. So I thought maybe the best way to do it is to show the original conceptual framework of Agnes study. And in the middle of this figure, we have the main concept of active aging. And what was original in this study when it started, that there was really no way to measure active aging in an individual level. So it was kind of the target to promote active aging around Europe, but there was no way to measure or then measure how the promotion is actually working in the individual level. Our PI, Taina Rantanen, designed this study to develop this measure for active aging. So we would be then able to see what the correlates are and then how to promote active aging. And these are the main data collections that have been done so far. So we had the baseline data collection in the 2017 and that was funded by the European research funding as an advanced grant to Taina Rantanen. And so, as mentioned, the age at the baseline of our cohorts was 75, 80, and 85 years. Then we also had an intervention for enhancing active aging for the subpopulation of the study. And then when the COVID-19 happened, we also had a questionnaire for these original participants, of which about 800 replied. We had the accelerometry data from about half of this original sample of 1,000 participants. And then we went on in the 2021 to 22 with 4 separate projects, because we had then 4 different fundings to collect the follow-up data to this Agnes baseline. And each of these studies then had a little bit of different focus. So we were in one study, which was again by Taina Rantanen. The aim was to look at the effect of COVID on the older people. Then in my sub-study, we were more looking into the physical activity, so the accelerometry data and heart rate data, to try to individually profile the physical activity in older people. Then we have Timo Rantalanen's project, which is more biomechanically inclined, looking at the quality of life. And finally, there's this active aging places, where we're looking at the GPS data and GIS data to understand where do people go and where are they being active. So this is my final slide for this introduction. So this is to show you which wearables we have been using. So our primary monitor was this UKK ERAM 42 axiometry on the thigh. And we specifically chose this to be our primary monitor because we thought that would be the most comfortable to wear, and we might then have the largest possible sample for this physical activity surveillance. And then for those people who accepted this, then we additionally offered the ECG monitor, where we've been able to extract heart rates. And we have been combining these different signals. So from the ECG monitor, we can also extract acceleration. So in some analysis, we have been using both chest and thigh accelerations. And then for my recent work, we've been using thigh accelerations combined with heart rate to estimate energy expenditures. I've had nothing about the results in this intro. Tried to be very brief, and I'm happy to take questions now.
Thank you, Laura. So just a reminder to put any questions you might have in the chat. So Laura, this cohort's actually one of our oldest cohorts. We have a lot of middle-aged cohorts. What do you think the important contribution to the knowledge that ProPASS will get? So what is sort of the most important contribution that having older cohorts, such as Agnes, can bring?
Yeah, that's a great question, and not an easy one. But what came to my mind is that it's very important to understand the diversity in the older cohorts. So usually, I think the older age groups in larger cohorts, they're just a number, or they're just a group of older people. But we have the ability to see the individual variation within the older people. So it's really not just like a uniform group. And also, from my point of view, it really made me think, how should we analyze the accelerometry data in the older cohorts? Because I don't think one size fits all, so to speak. So from the beginning, I started to think, like, how could we assess the physical activity in the older people who have limited mobility, at least some of them. So that kind of made me move away from the MBPA and the 3-met cut point to something else.
Thanks, Laura. And then you hinted at being able to answer questions about results. So I wondered if you had any sort of surprising or unexpected findings to share specifically in your sample around the movement behaviors.
Well, definitely something that was surprising to me was that just what I mentioned about the MBPA, we were thinking that maybe the 3-met cut point would be too high for older people for moderate physical activity. That was the original idea. And so we measured in the lab the walking intensity at preferred speed. So we had accelerometers on, and they walk at their preferred speed in the laboratory. But surprised to see that almost all of them, they actually walked quicker than at 3 mets. So that was definitely surprising. And their RPE was also on average, around 12, which is kind of moderate in relative terms. So that made me wonder if the 3-met cut points is actually quite low for younger people, because for older people, it was maybe about right on average, but of course not right for everyone.
Thanks, Laura. That is a very interesting finding to share.